Today we're going to be comparing a pair of luxury-oriented reversible seat models, the Bugaboo Fox 2 and the Nuna Demi Grow. At first look, many people may not think of these as comparable, due to a common assumption that tandem models are sometimes larger than they really are, when in truth, at least with these models, the size and weight differences are relatively negligible, while the market demographic, usually parents looking for full-sized reversible seat strollers for everyday use, seems to be the same. Nonetheless, there are actually important differences in their designs that impact their performance in relation to which environments and lifestyles they're best suited for. And in today's video then, we're going to explore these differences, judging the Demi Grow only in its one-child configuration, by comparing the models primarily in relation to comfort, functionality, performance, and mechanics. So let's get started then, beginning with the Demi Grow. And as far as child comfort is concerned, the model uses a rigid frame bucket seat design with an adjustable leg rest, measuring out to a total length of 98 centimeters, determined by adding up only the lengths of the seat back, baseboard, and leg rest, as there's no additional space between the seat back and canopy, and a width that varies between 28 and 33 centimeters, depending on whether you're using the cold weather insert. Though note here that the seat's mesh back without the insert provides insufficient insulation for colder climates, and as a result, overall, I would say that the Demi Grow seat is likely to begin to feel a bit cramped by around 3 years old or so, depending on the size of your child. As far as parent comfort is concerned, the Demi Grow is both easy and intuitive to use, with a very simple one-piece fold, measuring in at 89 by 61 by 60 centimeters when folded down with the seat attached. And when it comes to driving, the Demi Grow does okay versus other mid-sized strollers on the wider market. Though, given that it is a bit larger than most competing models and does have added structural strength for tackling tandem mode, I would judge the Demi Grow as underperforming a bit here, as with its relatively minimalistic suspension and 7-inch front wheels, the model only really excels in urban and smooth suburban environments, with its off-roading capabilities mostly oriented towards lighter terrain, like park lawns, gravel, and so on. Longevity-wise, the Demi Grow is built quite sturdily, with well-designed bars, strong connection points, good horizontal support, and simply constructed internal mechanisms, giving the overall chassis a decently rigid feeling. And, as long as you keep to that relatively smooth terrain then, the model is likely to hold up for a long time. As far as which lifestyles the Demi Grow will best suit, I would say that the model's chief advantage comes from the combination of a generously sized shopping basket and the ability to raise up the seat using adapters, which together not only bring you closer to your child, which is nice for the connection, as well as the ability to more easily correct problems on the go, but also makes that shopping basket more accessible, creating what I like to think of as the base of operations feel, an ideal setup for lifestyles that don't involve a lot of car travel, in that you can just load up that shopping basket with a ton of bags or day trip gear, with your kid perched up top, and feel a sense of private space while negotiating your way through your day. Not that all strollers don't provide this to some extent, of course, but I find that the feeling is enhanced with larger models with these characteristics. Okay, let's move on and look at the Fox 2 then, which also uses a rigid frame bucket seat, though unlike the Demi Grow, doesn't have an adjustable leg rest. And while this may provide less options for child comfort, please note that it firstly also allows the model to avoid the additional weaker hinged mechanisms needed for such a setup, and secondly, that a lot of bucket seat strollers are actually built without adjustable leg rests, which works just fine in my experience, as the seats are already ergonomically designed to keep your child's legs at a comfortable angle. Size-wise, the Fox 2 seat clocks in at a total length of 102 centimeters, making it slightly longer than the Demi Grow, though this is mostly due to having a taller seat back and a little extra space beneath the canopy. And width-wise, at 35 centimeters, it's also wider. In addition, while the Demi Grow seat is nice as well, I also feel that the textiles are a tad more luxurious on the Fox 2, and Bugaboo has also done a bit more fine-tuning with regards to the inclusion of smaller comfort details, especially in relation to the harness, that make using and adjusting the seat more intuitive. As far as parent comfort is concerned, the Fox 2 has both positives and negatives in relation to the Demi Grow. On the positive side, the model can be folded down into one piece, not just with the seat in the forward-facing position, the only way to get a one-piece fold with the Demi Grow, but also when reversed, as well as with the bassinet. Though it's worth noting that the trade-off here is that without an adjustable leg rest, the Fox 2's rigid seat frame does make the folded package a little larger, more spread out, and more cumbersome to lift and pack away. The Fox 2 also has a wider range of handle height than the Demi Grow, 88 to 107 centimeters versus 104 to 111, which is something worth considering if you're on the shorter side. Though on the negative side, however, the Fox 2 shopping basket is somewhat smaller and less accessible. The seat sits lower off the ground, at least in comparison to what can be achieved using the Demi Grow's adapters. The folding system is more complicated and fiddly, and the chassis construction is slightly looser, and definitely more fragile overall, which is mainly the result of the Fox 2's Achilles heel, its central bar, which houses an insanely complex folding system consisting of so many small plastic components that the potential for problems down the road is unfortunately pretty high, at least if you don't treat the model a bit carefully, follow the weight specifications, and periodically lubricate its mechanisms. The Demi Grow, by contrast, can take a lot more abuse, and also just feels a bit more rigid and sturdy overall. Though, that being said, however, on a mechanism-by-mechanism basis, other than the folding system, there are elements of the Fox 2 that are more likely to hold up better over time as well, such as the brake system, for example. And this comparison of longevity also assumes use in smoother conditions, as, when looking at the effects of prolonged use over rougher terrain, it's worth noting the Fox 2's superior suspension and front wheel size will do a lot more towards limiting wear than the Demi Grow setup. Lastly, looking at the Fox 2's driving capabilities, both in terms of easy maneuvering and off-road capability, there's really no contest between these models, as with its 8.5-inch front wheels, multi-layered suspension, and what Bugaboo refers to as power steering, which is a combination of the raised ridge that runs down the center of the Fox 2's tires and an overall angle of the chassis narrower at the handle but wider at the wheels, the Fox 2 can handle an entirely different degree of rougher terrain than the Demi Grow, being usable not only over rural dirt roads, gravel, and the like on a regular basis, but also being capable of tackling rougher ground like forest trails with roots and rocks and other real impediments for limited periods of time. And overall then, in my opinion, the main reasons for choosing the Fox 2 over the Demi Grow are either a need for this added terrain capability, meaning regular trips to rougher parks, an older city with lots of cobblestones, or snow concerns in the winter, or if you have special need of the model's extra one-piece fold characteristics or its wider range of handle height. In any case, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, we ask that you subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. If you'd like to know more about either of these models, we have standalone reviews for each of them, and links have been added in the description. In addition, if you are currently shopping for a stroller, we have a buyer's guide on our Patreon page, which lists a wide range of models that we recommend, with a lot of technical and lifestyle-related information. You can find that by following the link in the description as well. Thank you.